the call to action is just what we need at this stage of the day. So there's actually something positive that can be done. And I think with all of the talks we've had this afternoon, we've seen looking forward and looking at things that can be done rather than just saying, oh, isn't it terrible? And I'd like to thank you all for that positive approach and for giving us an insight into a lot of really interesting and important initiatives that are going on. We have some time for some questions, and we should have a couple of microphones, I believe. Yep, our able assistant. So if anybody has a question for the panel, please put your hand up in the air, or, yeah, gentleman at the back there. If you could just wait while somebody runs around. I'll try and choose someone right in the middle next time, so you have to run back again.
Hi, I'm Tom Downing from the Stockholm Environment Institute in Oxford. We're just in the early stages of a project on personal carbon trading with the Royal Society of Arts in the UK. And I didn't hear anything about that. The ICT requirements, the reflections on personal privacy, and how you actually implement a society-wide personal market.
Would anyone like to dive into that particular can of worms?
I think actually, I didn't touch upon this point. The IT sector, ICT sector actually is very well positioned to help safeguard regarding privacy concerns through innovative database management systems. And it is quite possible, I think, and I think the IT industry will help facilitate the emergence of these kinds of personal trading programs, and data privacy issues can be addressed. We have done that. We even, within our institute, we run a program that allows us to inventorize employees' commuting emissions, for example, or employees' business travel. And there were huge concerns because of privacy issues. And so we were able to design a system through our IT function department within the institute that allowed an anonymity and also a very efficient management.
Do you want to dive in, John? Yeah.
Yeah. It's actually a very interesting question from a privacy perspective. You know, what information is recorded, who gets access to it? And I would say that for a personal carbon tax or cap and trade system to be in place, you have to have a very strong and appropriate statutory and regulatory framework, such as in the EU, where you've got the Data Protection Directive 9546 EC and the other directives that basically ensure your privacy. That needs to be in place before you can even start talking about it.
Dave, I mean, presumably process accounting would work quite well for a home computer system, or don't you see that being applicable?
Well, we were mainly thinking of work from the commercial side and so forth. It'd be interesting, I suppose, if you started doing home computing thing. Every time you click on, try and do a Google search, it says, "Did you really want to do that?"
I would go for that. I have 3 terabytes of data sitting on my desk at the moment. I counted up before I came. I was astonished at how much data, so I could do with that sort of thing. Thank you. Does that address your question adequately? Thanks. Anyone else would like to dive in? You can have the privilege of asking the last question of the day. Ah, gentleman there. 2 microphones even.
Thank you. Sorry if it's a disappointment. I may not be asking the right question, or not even a question. I was just very, very pleased and interested to listen to all these interesting presentations. And I realize we are at the ITU Symposium, so we are supposed to talk about the more technical aspect of information technology. But I just wanted to make the point that in the last few years, with the work of the Association of Progressive Communications, we have identified many areas where information technology could actually help communities on the ground deal with the challenges posed by climate change, as well as other environmental challenges, of course, and that this technology could actually empower communities in a way that no other technology possibly can. So I just wanted to raise the point that there are many issues beyond the purely technical side of monitoring and equipment. And of course, if someone from the panel would like to reflect on this, I would be very happy.
Yeah, please. Who'd like to take that up?
Yeah, I actually mentioned in my presentation some of the work that Microsoft is doing with UNEP around some databases and some tools and accesses. ORA was one, access to the environmental research data, which can be used by communities. There's the Clinton Foundation work on tracking greenhouse gas emissions in a city level. There's the World Conservation Database work that's being done, which allows you to do a risk assessment on development or work in areas of special scientific interest or environmentally sensitive areas, all which could be impacted by climate change. And so there certainly is tools available today which the ICT industry collectively is making available, and I'm sure my colleagues here would have other concrete examples, but I did actually talk about them, and I'm sure there's some other ones as well we could discuss.
Yeah, please.
No, I think it's a very important point, and I think we get lost sometimes in just focusing on measurement side of the things. If you remember my first slide where I had this diagram, really the goal is management, reduction of emissions. Measurement in some cases is an instrument, in some cases it is not required. And so I think the point is that the focus should always be on management, and that we should never lose of that focus. And sometimes measurement approaches are not working or not required at all. And we have such examples where GHG protocol itself has advised some sectors that don't use or don't try to manage your emissions by developing measurement approaches which may not be accurate. So I think it's a very important point.
Michelle.
Yeah, I think climate change is indeed a very complex adventure. And probably ICT has a unique role to play in the sense that it's there to bridge communities and disciplines. And if we want to address climate change, I don't see many technologies able to do that. And I really think that ICT can enable a lot of things, including participatory approaches by non-expert people. So this opens a lot of perspectives in front of us.
Indeed it does. Any last points anyone wants to make before I draw this bit of the proceedings to a close? In which case I'd just like to thank the panel for their excellent speeches.